Halloween. Players on my fantasy team, they're not scoring points. I'm panicking. Welcome back, Endgame. It's Chris. We're going to talk about some players that you may be panicking about here on Halloween, and I'm going to tell you what we can do about them. Let's get into it. And let's start with a big name that was expected to have a big day, and that is Nick Chubb. Now, the good news is he did get 16 carries. The bad news is D'Ernest Johnson got some carries, and D'Ernest Johnson got the bulk of the receptions, not to mention he got the touchdown, right? This was supposed to be the Nick Chubb, top 5 running back, no Kareem Hunt there, getting all the work guy. And look, I'm not panicking because of his results, because we knew this was a tough matchup against the Steelers. I'm panicking because Nick Chubb still is not a pass catching back, even without Kareem Hunt there, right? So I think this is just who Nick Chubb is going to be, whether Hunt is there or not. I'm not saying you should be highly panicking about him because this is kind of what you drafted, right? Just don't expect these monster weeks coming up without Kareem Hunt. He just is what he is. Now let's move to a wide receiver who started off the season red hot and has gotten ice cold, and that is DJ Moore. 10 PPR points or fewer in 4 of his last 4 games. What's the issue here? Well, the issue is Sam Darnold, of course. He's playing terribly, right? This offense is not the offense we saw the first 3 games where Sam Darnold was somehow playing out of his mind. Maybe it was just because they were playing a bunch of bad defenses. I don't know. I mean, there was the Falcons today, so I guess you can't say that. It's just we're seeing the Sam Darnold we saw in New York, and we've seen that Sam Darnold for the last 4 weeks, and this is going to be an issue for DJ Moore going forward. I had DJ Moore on our trade video last week. I might have even had him on the trade video the week before, but now is the time to sell DJ Moore before his value gets too low, because he still has some value right now, but panic level very high for me on DJ Moore. All right, guys, before we continue, just real quick, if you're enjoying the video or you enjoy our content, just ask that you hit that thumbs up real quick. Greatly appreciate it. All right, how about Kenneth Gainwell Day? Yeah, that did not go as planned. It was all Boston Scott and Jordan Howard. Kenneth Gainwell did end up with 12 carries, but he only had 1 touch before garbage time. He was just not involved in the game. The problem is, without Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell's role did not change. He was still the pass catching back, and the Lions are so bad that the Eagles didn't really need to throw the ball. Even Jalen Hurts didn't have his usual 20-point game, but we're not panicking about that one. So Kenneth Gainwell is who he is at this point. He's their pass catching back. When they're losing, which will be often, and they need to throw, which will also be often, he'll have value. But on a game like this, where it's close or where game script is against them, he's not going to have a lot of value. All right, how about Chase Claypool? This was a guy I was really high on coming into the season. Only had 4 targets this week. He did have 2 rushes, so that was nice. But even in the games now that Juju Smith-Schuster has been out for, remember he's out for the season, we just haven't seen those Chase Claypool games. And part of it is, this offense is really bad. Obviously, Deontay Johnson is the target monster there, but also Big Ben just can't throw deep. And that's a huge part of Chase Claypool's game, is those vertical routes. So with Big Ben not being able to throw deep, even with Juju out, he's just not getting enough volume to really be fantasy relevant every week. He's a complete volatile boom bust type of play, because this is just who he's going to be all year long. And with Big Ben looking like dust, panic level has to be pretty high. All right, don't forget, guys, if you want to support us other than just watching our videos and subscribing to the channel, which we do appreciate, you can also support us through our Patreon. We have that link down below in the description. You get tons of great perks, and we'd be very, very grateful. All right, let's move on to a rookie who looked like he had turned the corner and was starting to break out, and then week 8 happened, and that was Kyle Pitts. This was a dream spot, right? No Calvin Ridley going against the Panthers. You got to think Kyle Pitts was going to go off this week. He had 2 really good games the weeks before, and then 2 catches for 13 yards on 6 targets. Not really getting it done. And look, he looked like a rookie a couple of times, right? Not really getting open, dropped a pass that would have kept the drive alive. That's what you get with rookies, right? Not every rookie can be, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase and just go out there and be great. Rookies are going to struggle, and Kyle Pitts is no different. So I said this a few weeks ago when he was on the Panic video. He's just going to be very volatile. You're just going to have to deal with it. It's not like you have way better options at the tight end position. You're just going to have to keep rolling them out and accepting that some weeks are going to be great and some weeks not so great, like this one. All right, now how about a running back who looked like he had turned the corner and was taking over a backfield, and that's changed, and that is Zach Moss. So over the last 2 games, only 14 total carries. Now he is catching some passes, which is nice, which is saving his PPR floor, but this guy has no ceiling, right? No ceiling at all. He's a fine floor play, 10, 11, 12 points, but his ceiling is really, really capped. He needs a touchdown to have any kind of ceiling because he's just not getting the work. And that's the problem we talked about with these Bills running backs all off season is they're very touchdown dependent. This is just a team, they don't run the ball a lot. Josh Allen takes off and runs a lot. So there's just not a lot here for the running back. So I would say panic level like medium for Zach Moss, because just to understand that you're starting a guy with a very high floor, but really not much of a ceiling. All right, let's keep it going with another running back, Myles Gaskin. So on the good news, with no Malcolm Brown, he got 11 carries and 2 catches. That's 13 touches. I mean, that's not bad for an RB2. The bad news is it was the Bills. He didn't do anything with those touches. So I think we just have to view Myles Gaskin at this point as very matchup dependent. When they're in good matchups where the game should be close and the run defense isn't elite, then Myles Gaskin becomes a fine RB2 start. But when they're going up against tough, elite defenses or game script is expected to be against them, you're probably going to have to bench Myles Gaskin. So again, kind of like Zach Moss, mildly panicking here, but I think if you just accept who Myles Gaskin will be, then you won't panic so much and you'll understand when to play him and when to sit him. Let's talk about a tight end, Tyler Higbee. Man, who would have thought Matt Stafford would put up these kind of numbers and Tyler Higbee would be borderline fantasy irrelevant, but that's kind of where he is. He has absolutely no ceiling right now. Sure, he gets some targets and he gets some catches, but Woods, Kupp, and Henderson dominate the red zone touches, right? When they get down there in the red zone, those guys just dominate the touches. There's just nothing left for Tyler Higbee. So sure, he might catch 4 passes for 40 yards or 3 passes for 30 or whatever it is, but that's just okay. That's not really what you're looking for. I mean, it's a tight end, so that doesn't kill you, but really out of our tight ends, we're looking for guys who can score, right? We just want guys who can score at the tight end position. If you don't have one of the elite tight ends, just give me a touchdown, right? And Higbee just doesn't do that. It's going to be hard for him to do that. I think if there's a better tight end option on your wire, you can drop Tyler Higbee, and certainly panic level has to be high. And then finally, let's go with the Browns wide receiver, and no, not Odell. The panic level is sky high for Odell. He shouldn't even be started anymore. But let's talk about Jarvis Landry, because this is a guy who people do start in certain leagues sometimes. They think he's a nice, safe PPR floor guy, and he is. He does all right, 8, 9, 10 points. But even this week, 10 targets, which is great, but only 5 of those were caught. The big problem here for Jarvis Landry is not Jarvis Landry, it's Baker Mayfield, right? Baker Mayfield's got this shoulder issue. It's obviously not right. He's struggling, and that's going to hurt the entire passing game, including Jarvis Landry. So again, kind of like Zach Moss, he has no ceiling right now, none. I'm not going to say panic level high because this isn't a guy you're counting on to, win your week or anything. But you again have to understand what you have here with Jarvis Landry. You have a decently high floor PPR guy with no ceiling, and that is it. So he's never going to be a guy you're going to play when you need somebody to win you your week. But if you don't need to lose your week, I think he can handle that. All right, guys, that does it for Panic Players. Hope you have a happy Halloween. Appreciate you watching. Try not to panic too much, and I'll see you next time.